This is Chapter 4, Lesson 7, Divide Fractions. So in order to divide by a fraction, I multiply by its multiplicative inverse or reciprocal, okay? So remember, a reciprocal is I just flip the fraction. So 7/8 divided by 3/4 becomes 7/8 times 4/3. In algebra, A over B divided by C over D is the same thing as saying A over B times D over C, where B, C, and D cannot equal 0. Okay, remember we say that because if you divide by 0, bad things happen in math. Okay. Another way to remember it is keep, change, flip. I keep my first, change my division sign to a multiplication sign, and I flip my second fraction. In order to divide mixed numbers, okay, so to divide by a mixed number, first rename the mixed number as a fraction greater than 1. Then multiply the first fraction by the reciprocal or multiplicative inverse of the second fraction. So let's take a look at some examples. Example number 1 says find 3/4 divided by -1/2. So I'm going to take my first, keep my first, change my division to multiplication, flip my second fraction. 3/4 times -2 over 1. 3 times -2 gives me -6. 4 times 1 is 4. So I get -6/4, which simplifies to -3/2, which is the same thing as -1 1/2. The second problem I have to look at, find 2/3 divided by 3 1/3. I'm going to rename 3 1/3 so that it's an improper fraction. 3 1/3, 3 times 3 becomes 9, plus 1 is 10, so 10/3. So 2/3 divided by 10/3. Keep my first, change my division to multiplication, flip my second fraction, 10/3 becomes 3/10. 2 times 3 gives me 6. 3 times 10 is 30. And when I simplify, I get 1/5. Okay. You can also see that up here. 3, this becomes 1, this becomes 1, and this becomes 5. Okay. So there are a couple of try-it problems. Go ahead, pause the video, try them out, and when you are done, we will go over the answers together. Now that you've tried the try-it problems on your own, let's go over the answers together. The first one says divide. Write in simplest form, -5/6 divided by -2/3. Okay, so I keep my first, change my division to multiplication, flip my second fraction. Multiply by the multiplicative inverse or the reciprocal. Okay, so now I just multiply straight across, or I can cross simplify, noticing that 6 and 3, 3 becomes 1, 6 becomes 2. So now I have -5 times -1 gives me 5. 2 times 2 gives me 4. So I get 5/4 or 1 and 1/4. Notice they're both negative. They're both negative, so I get a positive answer. So for -5/6 divided by -2/3, I can either have 5/4 or 1 and 1/4. The second try-it problem says divide -3/4 divided by 1 1/2. Write in simplest form. I'm going to change 1 1/2 so that it is from a mixed number to an improper fraction. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. Okay. Now I'm going to keep change, flip. I notice I can cross simplify. So the 3's become 1, 2 becomes 1, and 4 becomes 2. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. I have one negative sign, so my answer is negative. So negative 1/2. And that is the end of lesson 7.